Morning, everybody. So while I'm waiting on parts for my Corona 4 and my Corona 3 that I've been working on, I already have one of each, done in my collection. And then I got that Underwood 10 that I haven't done anything with yet. I'll play with that one of these days. But I got started on my Royal 5. Now I got a Royal 10 over here in parts. I'm going to try and use what I need to get off of here from the Royal 10. So far I've got the tab slugs, the two that I had. Those work from that on here. This paper scale is actually off the 10. This is the one from the 5. But the 10 had numbers on the paper bale. And I just wanted to see if it would fit, and it does. And I just kind of wiped it down. And I think I'm going to go with the one from the 10 because there's no numbers otherwise to go on. It just looks cool on there. It's like updating it a hair, but the feed rollers, Platen, let me get this right here. Paper bale rollers, of course, had a little crack in them and whatnot. And so what I'm doing here is putting heat shrink tubing. You can buy a whole bunch of it. This is 1/2-inch sheet of it, and I'm putting that on over the rollers, which I've done in. I'm just going to add a little Windex in there as kind of a lube. I've done this for front feed rollers and stuff too. When they're not bad, they're still round and all that. You can kind of recover them. You got to get something in there behind it, like this. I just used this in there behind it, but you can kind of just recover it by using heat shrink tubing, and if it's savable like that, only you'll know. You'll have to make that judgment call. But I'm just forcing it on over the. Here, let me get this in here. So I'm just forcing that kind of on over the roller, and keep turning it around the whatever I put behind it. So in this case, I'm using a spring hook tool behind it, but you could use pretty much anything that's small and has give to it. Almost there. Actually, a little more. And the trick is kind of to go past the end of the whatever you're putting it on, whether it be a front feed roller or whatever. You got to go past it because it's heat shrink tubing, so it's going to shrink a little bit. But what you're going to do after you shrink it is cut off the excess tail. So here I'm taking it right up to the edge. Okay. Get this guy out of there. Come on. There. Alright, so now just watch, I guess, is the next step here. I got this little candle lighter thing, but it'll put out the heat enough to shrink the heat shrink tubing. See how it's kind of biting around it now? It's making a good contact. Now don't hold it there too long or any of that. You don't want to melt it, You're just forming the heat shrink tubing onto its new feed roller or whatever. Kind of conforming it to it, and giving it its home. And that's about it. And now you trim off the excess there, and I'm going to do the same over here quick. If my guess measurement was close, I won't have a whole lot to trim off, but it's not really guessing. I mean, you can see the roller under it, whether it be paper bale roller or feed roller or whatever. It's sticky enough to bring one back to life. That in case you had one that wasn't so hot, You're like putting the new skin on it, and you're doing it from a car parts aisle at your O'Reilly Auto Parts. It's kind of like the same with the Corona 4s. It is, 1920s automotive air tubing for under, like you'd find under your hood. That's what the keys rest on. There we go. All right. So in this case, I'm gonna just take my X-Acto knife and watch this happen. All right. So I'm just gonna cut up to the edge with my X-Acto knife here. It's like surgery, right? One and come on. There we go. It's not hard to cut heat shrink tubing. Two. There we go. You just got to make sure you go all the way around. You don't want to do it and have it be goofy cut. There. Now the thing about these Royals, and I noticed this with one of my Royal 10s. So there's a nice fresh feed, perfect circle. I mean, they're ready to rock and grip paper. But because I'm going to run them onto this other rail, the thing about Royals in their feed paper bale rollers is there's a spring inside there, like a little metal clip inside of each one. So when you take that off of this bar, that'll fall out. So if you're going to transfer from one to another with these Royals, you want to put both together like this and just kind of slide the one onto the other, if that makes sense. Because otherwise you're going to make a clip jump, and let me get this on there right. And then you'll have to fight with it. So you kind of just do it like that. You just slide one onto the other like that, and then you won't have that clip fall off. And if you can do it with just holding them together like that, and then you just bring the one up and walk it onto the other one, then you don't have that clip fall out. Now on these, now look at that, huh? Look at that. I mean, where the new rollers are on that. Now these two dead ones are going to come off, and I'll show you that clip so you see. I'm going to take this one off. There's two screws in the end that hold these paper bales into that assembly. But this clip here, this guy here, there. So once you have one of these fall out, and you're trying to keep that together and then trying to put it on there, it sucks. It sucks. You're just better off, if you can, if you're transferring, to just slide it, or just never take it off the thing and put your stuff on over it. Whatever bar it is, I would think it would be easier just to put it on while it's on the bar. You got something to hold then when you got the fire. I'll show you how this goes on here. So now we've got two nice paper bale rollers, and they go here. Go in these slots like this. And so that goes, and then there's two screws, so one goes in this end and one goes in the other end. Just put them in and show you how that goes, and that's about all I'm going to show you right now. But the whole point was to really show you how. Of course, if your screwdriver doesn't decide to be magnetic when you're trying to do this, there we go. Those two screws are what hold them, so one in this end and one in that end. But I kind of like the numbers on there. I think it gives it a little edge. Get it. And I do the other side. I should have remagnetized this screwdriver. There we go. You know, when you take something apart, doesn't matter what typewriter it is, when you start taking the panel plates off and all that kind of thing, make sure you lay them out. There we go. I think that looks sharp as heck. That scale on there? I don't know, maybe it's just me. But yeah, alright, that's all I wanted to show you really, and you know, maybe make mention that when you lay something out parts-wise, that you keep it kind of like together. So like these plates and stuff, the spools, put the screws with them, each one. Like I got the screws for this part here, these here. None of this is cleaned yet, of course, but you know, you keep things together that way, so when you go to put it back together, you don't have a screw from like this going into this hole here. You know what I mean? Alright, take it easy everybody. Have a good one.